Long, long ago, in a time when animals could speak and the forests held deep secrets, there lived a tortoise known throughout the land. His name was Ajapa. He was a small fellow, with a shell as tough as ancient wood, a head full of clever ideas, and a mouth that was always ready with a witty remark. The village where he lived was a beautiful place, nestled between dense, whispering forests and bathed in the warm, golden light of countless sunsets. Everyone, from the tiniest ant to the mightiest elephant, knew of Ajapa's cunning nature. One bright morning, a declaration echoed through the entire kingdom, carried on the wind from the palace of the great king of the forest. The king, a powerful and respected lion, announced a grand challenge. Hear ye, whoever among you can make me laugh a true, hearty laugh from the belly shall be rewarded with my most prized possession, and that is the magical talking drum. This was no ordinary drum. It was an instrument of immense power, capable of summoning life, giving rain during droughts, calling forth bountiful harvests from the earth, and bestowing countless blessings upon its owner. The news sparked a flurry of excitement. Animals from every corner of the kingdom flocked to the palace, each one certain they held the secret to the king's laughter. The monkey, with his nimble limbs and cheeky grin, performed an acrobatic dance, flipping and tumbling until he was dizzy, but the king merely watched, his expression unchanged. The parrot, famed for its beautiful voice, sang the most melodious and comical songs it knew, yet the king did not so much as crack a smile. Even the proud lion, a distant cousin of the king, stood before the throne and roared a poem he thought was hilarious. Still, the king remained stone-faced. The challenge seemed impossible. Just as a hush of disappointment fell over the crowd, a small figure made its way slowly but steadily to the front. It was Ajapa. Remember Ajapa, the tortoise, right? He approached the throne and bowed his head as deeply as his short neck would allow. Your Majesty, he began, his voice surprisingly clear and confident. I may not be able to dance or sing, but I have a story for you. It is a tale so unbelievable, so utterly absurd, that I believe even the spirits in the sky would chuckle upon hearing it. A low murmur went through the crowd. What could this slow-moving tortoise possibly say to make the stern king laugh? The king, intrigued, gestured for him to continue. Ajapa cleared his throat. Your Majesty, he said, not long ago, I found myself in a spot of trouble with my low finances. So to settle a debt, I traveled to the spirit world and borrowed a magnificent goat from the sky spirits themselves. It was a fine goat, but when the time came to return it, a most peculiar thing happened. As I led the goat to the base of the rainbow bridge to the heavens, it suddenly sprouted wings and flew away, bleating that it had debts of its own to pay in the land of the moon. At this, a strange sound rumbled from the throne. It started as a low quiver, then grew into a chuckle, and finally erupted into a roaring, thunderous laugh that shook the very foundations of the palace. Ha ha ha! A flying goat paying its debts on the moon, the king bellowed, wiping tears from his eyes. Oh, Ajapa, you're a master of mischief and tall tales. You have succeeded where all others failed. True to his word, the king presented Ajapa with the talking drum. Ajapa was overjoyed. He took the drum back to his home and, that very evening, tapped out a rhythm for a gentle rain to water his thirsty yam patch. The drum obeyed. The next day, he beat it again, and a feast of his favorite foods appeared before him. But this newfound power awoke a deep greed within him. He started beating the drum every single day, not just for what he needed, but for whatever he wanted. He called for more rain than his fields could hold, more food than he could ever eat, and even piles of shimmering gold that he had no use for. The blessings, once so generous, began to dwindle. The food that appeared was less tasty, the rain was barely a drizzle. Then, one evening, as Ajapa beat the drum demanding more riches, it spoke back to him, its voice not a joyful rhythm, but an angry, booming warning that said to Ajapa, greedy heart never stays full. You take and take, but give nothing back. The sound startled Ajapa, but he was too consumed by his desires to heed the warning. The following morning, Ajapa woke up to a shocking sight. All the gold had vanished. The mountains of food were gone. All that surrounded him were empty snail shells, broken yam skins, and the dry, cracked earth of his overwatered farm. The talking drum was silent, its magic gone. In his endless quest for more, he had lost everything. Ajapa the tortoise, the cleverest animal in the forest, had finally learned a hard lesson that true wisdom isn't found in outsmarting others or gathering possessions, but in recognizing the value of what you have and knowing when enough is truly enough. Thank you for joining us for this tale from the heart of Africa. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fables and legends. We'll see you next time.